It's Guess the Handicaps, our weekly GAA show here on Balls.ie. I'm Shane Cahill, filling in for Mick McCarthy, who participates this week alongside PJ Brown. The lads are going to be trying to guess the bookies' handicaps on a selection of Gaelic football fixtures. Hurling returns next week. If you're new to the channel, please do hit the subscribe button, and the like button for the video is right down there beside it, so you might hit that as well. We've got a lot of football to get through, lads, so let's get to it. It's the final round of league fixtures this weekend in the football. Just a reminder about how the divisions are set up this year before we get into it. Each of the four divisions is split into regional subdivision north and south. The top two teams in each subdivision will play a semi-final against each other to determine the finalists. And in Division 2, 3 and 4, therefore, the teams that get promoted, the bottom two teams in each of those subdivisions then will contest a relegation playoff. So there's a lot to play for this weekend, particularly in Division 1 North. And that's where we'll begin with you, Mick. Armagh versus Donegal.
Okay, Armagh versus Donegal. Oh God, I've been waiting on a chance to guess these handicaps for a few weeks. I've been guessing them myself, obviously, before checking the answers to then reveal them. But didn't do too well last week. I might have won the first week, but definitely not last week. But Armagh versus Donegal. Before we start, though, I do like your explanation of the league campaign there and what it's going to go. And like PJ, for an organization that thrives and basically has made its name in overly complicated structures, they've actually outdone themselves this year, haven't they, with the league format? It's just like, it isn't complicated if you just take your time and break it down, but ultimately they've made a 3-game competition where everybody gets a 4th game and everybody still has something to play for. And it's actually quite interesting behind it all.
GA being forced into simplicity here, though. It didn't really have much of a choice, I think.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's one of those ones that's complicated and simple at the same time. What's the game again? I've stalled long enough here now, Shane.
Armagh versus Donegal. We're going to cover both these games. The interesting thing about Division 1 North is that all of these teams can both finish in the top two and the bottom two. So it could go either way for any one of these teams. But we're beginning with Armagh and Donegal.
Yeah. So we actually skipped on Armagh last week because I was so sure that it was going to be Tyrone -2 against them. And you know, I think they've acquitted themselves very well in Division 1 so far, but I also still think that they're probably a, 7th or 8th, that there's that sort of tier of a top 6 or 7, and then there's that next tier, which the odd time somebody will be popping up into Division 1, but then probably in that solid second tier where they can cause an upset. Because of that, I don't think that they will be favoured against Donegal, but it will be close, especially with Armagh at home. I'm going to go Donegal -2.
Okay, Donegal -2. PJ?
Yeah, this is a kind of a tough game, but Armagh are at home here. Armagh have a lot of really dangerous forwards though. Like they look like like the way Donegal played last week, they look really vulnerable at the back. And like there's no reason that like someone like Conor Turbot couldn't do a Conor McCarthy here and score a hat-trick in the first half. There was a friend of mine was texted me after the Donegal and Monaghan game, calling it a Jackie Fullerton score. It was like 120 to 411. Congratulations, whoever won that one. And yeah, I do agree with you, Mick, that Donegal will be favourites despite being away from home. But I think it's Donegal -3.
Okay, Donegal -2 from Mick, Donegal -3 from PJ. Can reveal now that PJ is correct. Spot on, bang on the money, -3 Donegal.
Oh, ring.
I readjusted my strategy from last week. I was probably would have gone like -2 last week, but I was seemed to be like one out every time. So yeah, I've adjusted, like this is what I think, and I'll go one more.
So Tyrone were -2. Tyrone were -2 with Ballybuffet in the Athletic Grounds last week, and Donegal in the meantime drew with Monaghan. In a weird performance. I don't know.
Yeah, and you would think they'll be out without Michael Murphy, who went off after 4 or 5 minutes against Monaghan. So
yeah, I like what you're saying about Armagh as like dangerous forward and stuff. I feel like I've been waiting for them to come alive for 3 or 4 years, but at the same time, they've somehow kind of gone from Division 3 to Division 1 without me noticing that they've actually fulfilled some of that promise. I love teams when they do that. They've become a solid contender without anybody noticing.
That is the funny thing. It's you would kind of forget that Armagh are in Division 1, and yet then you have PJ tipping them as dark horses for this final. Let's move on to the next game. It's Tyrone and Monaghan, Healy Park in Omagh, 7:30 Saturday. PJ, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, this division in general is just so interesting. I think there's 11 goals so far in the 4 games. This is like a different Tyrone team that we've seen in previous years. If you look at like the half-back line has Matty Donnelly and Peter Hart, who might have been in the forwards or like in previous years under Mickey Hart, and now they're in like a really kind of an interesting half-back line. And you've got like they've got really great forwards as well, like Darren McCurry, who would have been missing in previous years. Actually, might have been there last year. Young lad Paul Donaghy coming in from Dungannon. He looks like a really, really good player. I think Tyrone will be strong favourites for this. Like Monaghan have brought Monaghan also have like a lot of young players. Yeah, I think it's Tyrone -4.
Okay, Mick, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting actually. Both of these games will have people at them, which I think is massively underrated as well. You know, we'll have 500 people at both of these games, which is so welcome. You know, and I mean, we've all been watching the football recently, and God, even the golf at the weekend or the snooker final, and you're just thinking it feels almost back to normal. And then you watch the GAA at the weekend, and it's all completely empty, and it really emphasizes something I think that we got used to last year, but is now again hard to watch because we're not seeing it anywhere else, you know. So I do think that's actually a massive thing, and it will almost forgive the fact that it's such an Ulster-heavy Division 1 this year because we get some of these games. And it's funny, PJ, what you're saying about the goals and things, because I've seen Sean Cavan and whoever else was on with him, Kevin McStay, talking before the Donegal Monaghan match at the weekend, talking about how there does seem to have been a reshift in emphasis this year, maybe coming on the back of last year in terms of attacking play, and maybe teams just going for a little bit more, have sorted out what that thing that they've been working on in defence for the last 20 years and are now able to do, you know, to evolve it and to go attacking. And funny enough, they had that conversation, and then, you know, Conor McCarthy went out and got a hat-trick in 20 minutes, you know, so like it was proved right. So I do hope we continue to see that, more so than me continue to stall over handicaps that I haven't a clue about. 4 is really big here for me because I just think that Monaghan have a natural respect.
So he's obviously actually thinking -3, and he's bumped it down to -4. This is just his strategy.
Possibly, yeah. Well, I'm going to take that -3 that's there for the taking. I do, look, I mean, it might be -4. I don't think it's -5. So
it's not -5, it's -2.
Oh,
yeah. Like Monaghan went and drew in Donegal in Ballybuffet at the weekend and are a good side, like perennial Ulster finalists. So, okay, 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1. We're going to move on to Division 1 South for the next game. Mick, you're going to go first on this one. We're going to leave out Roscommon and Kerry. Roscommon, I think, are going to finish 4th no matter what happens. Kerry are guaranteed a place in the top 2. There is something to play for in the other game between Galway and Dublin in Tuam on Sunday at 3:45. Mick, what do you think?
I like that Galway have brought this game to Tuam. I know with no crowds and stuff, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but I still think that's a little sort of psychological win for them straight away. You know, we know that they like playing there, the players. I don't know. I like Dublin have been head scratchers. Like, we laughed last week about me saying that they got the job done against Roscommon by winning by, what was it, 9 points?
9.
Yeah, and then, you know, so up and down at the weekend. You're thinking at half time it's over, and then Kerry, we should talk about as well and give credit to. It wasn't just a one-team performance. So Dublin just had these amazing moments in probably an overall bad performance, I think is probably fair to say, by their standards, of course. I don't mean, you know, but they only scored 9 points. They scored, you know, like by Dublin standards, what was it, 12 scores overall? That's very, very low, you know. So I'm a little bit confused by them. They've got more or less a full team out. Obviously, there's always 1 or 2 guys to come in. That said, Galway, you know, I know that Joyce was delighted with their performance and that they stood up a little bit after their really poor performance against Kerry. But at the same time, you have to imagine that, you know, there's a big difference between Kerry and Dublin and Roscommon. So Galway have to raise their game by a lot to compete with Dublin. And also I'm thinking, what is the actual handicap rather than what's going to happen? I have to remind myself of that. It's easy when you're in the presenter's chair, Shane. I'm going to say it's Dublin -5. A bit of respect for Tuam there, I think.
Okay.
Galway haven't beaten Dublin since 2010. I was just reading before this. It's like 11 years. It's kind of a little bit dispiriting when you think about it, that a team like Galway haven't beaten Dublin in 11 years. Yeah, they really had the good performance against Roscommon, considering what had happened the week before. Like, it was total humiliation.
It's a real head scratcher as well, isn't it? Because the form line over the last couple of years hasn't suggested that Galway would go and be absolutely hammered by 20 points by anyone, you know. And then the fact that they showed on Sunday that they haven't just completely collapsed into themselves. They went out and won the game. It just makes this a weird anomaly, maybe, you know.
That Dublin performance was kind of strange at the weekend. Like, they had so many goal chances. Like, they could have had another 3 or 4. Like, I think Conor Callaghan could have had another 2 or 3 himself. Like, there was that one right at the start when this huge gap opened up in the Kerry defence. Like, it was like Kerry saw what Galway did against them and thought, oh, I like that. Let's not defend it. Like, he was totally asleep. Like, Niall Scully had so much space, and the hand pass a little bit better, and Conor Callaghan had a goal right there at the beginning. I think there was another couple of ones where he was unmarked at the back post. No one picked him out.
Yeah. Right at the end as well, where he probably should have went for goal and took the point to put them 2 up, and then, it was bad decision making, but he should have probably went for goal there, would have killed the game.
Yeah, I know, like another 2-3 for Cormac Costello in this game. Maybe 7-time All-Ireland winner Cormac Costello will finally get his break. And Paul Mandy has gone from the squad now. Paddy Small got injured at the weekend, so maybe he gets in. Sorry, go on, Mick.
No, I was just going to say, I did think watching the game, and it was no reflection on Costello at all, but I actually did. I talked to Kevin Doyle earlier about Harry Maguire becoming a better player in his absence. I did think that there was I did really notice the absence of Dean Rock in that forward line. And I think that, perhaps there is an acknowledgement. So, not that people don't think that Dean Rock's a very good player, but you kind of see what he does when he's not there, and not just in free taking, But sorry, I think I was laughing about Costello as well, because I noticed that your old friend Pasquale was, Lowndes. Eric Lowndes made his appearance at the weekend. I was thinking that's often one of the people you mention, how many All-Irelands that guy has,
Yeah.
These guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, in the depth of the Dublin squad who had 6 or 7 All-Irelands
and who would walk on to any other county team.
Yeah, being on the Dublin panel is just a great achievement, I often think.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say about Kerry and Dublin is that Kerry did miss their best man marker in Thomas Sullivan still. He's still not back, so you would think he would be the Conor Callaghan vaccine whenever he's available. Although there are wider issues other than Kerry needing someone to man mark. Other wider issues in the Kerry defence other than that. Go back to the handicap, Mick. I think you're nearly right, but I think it's Dublin -6.
I think
-6. PJ, your strategy of presumably you would have gone for -5 would have been correct, and Mick is correct. That's another point for Mick. Dublin -5, so it's 2-1 to Mick after 3 games. Moving on to Division 2. Division 2 North is pretty much sewn up. Meath and Mayo play at the weekend. They're guaranteed first and second, so it's just a case of who finishes first and who's second. Same with Westmeath and Down. They will contest the relegation playoff with 2 teams from Division 2 South. Clare versus Cork, Cusack Park. Ennis is the game that we're going to focus on from Division 2 South. And PJ, you are up first.
Clare having a chance to go into Division 1 here is it's an incredible. It just shows how great a job Colin Collins has done there with them. Like, they've beaten Kildare and Leach so far. They probably should be favourites for this game, I think. Clare should. Will they? Like, they are at home. Cork are inconsistent, whereas Clare seems to have an actual consistency. Clare have beaten Cork in the league in the last 3 of their meetings, which I was actually kind of surprised to kind of read that, because you just expect, it's Cork, and or because Clare that Cork should be winning those games, but they're not. Like I was that I read there was a funny thing I read about the Cork and Laois game last weekend. Was Laois, it sounded like, though that Cork won by 8 points, it sounded like Laois were the better team. It was a report on RD. It said, if anything, it was the home side more impressive in general play, yet when they came to the red zone in front of the post, the two sides were world apart. Nothing summed that up more than the last minute of normal time when Mark Barry had a shot for Laois that was inadvertently blocked by his own man, whereupon Cork came down the field and Shane Ford was able to split the posts, despite the fact his boot came off as he kicked the ball. An incredible moment of comedy that I maybe that was on the Sunday game, but I certainly missed it.
Yeah, what an amazing minute of Gaelic football, the best you'll see this year.
I'd like to see that, and those are the kind of clips that should be on the GAA Twitter account.
With comedy sound effect.
Yeah, again, one of these games where you think one team should be favourites, but what will the handicap be?
Yeah,
I think, because you have to, when they're putting these betting lines together, I think they often think, what's the the punter going to think? And the casual punter is going to be putting money on Cork, I would think. I'm going to say Cork -1, even though I think Clare are in with a really good chance of winning.
Okay, Mick, would you like to bring some Clare bias to this?
Yeah, I would always like to be Clare biased. I don't know. I don't know if I need to be biased, actually, consider like I did big this match up last week and the Kildare game, and I did think that, like, it's funny you mentioned that they've beaten Cork 3 times in a row, PJ. I think that's over 4 years, because obviously Cork spent a year in Division 3 in there as well. But like, Clare have there've been some big games as well. Clare stayed up beating Cork at least on one of those occasions, I believe. And they've done the job when they've had to. And I've watched those games, or listened to them on the radio, kind of like with a lot of tension, and they've come through. They have like a good record against them, as you point out. The job that Colin Collins has done, like, not only have they brought Clare from Division 4 to Division 2, that sort of thing has been done before, but to establish them as a Division 2 team, unless all things can happen where Clare, I think anyway, I've heard people say that they secured their Division 2 status, but the way this works, the way Shane has laid it out, if they can still fall into the bottom 2, if Kildare win and Clare lose, all 3 teams will be on 4 points, which means that will come down to score difference. So like a 5-point Laois win and a 5-point Cork win should to put Clare into the bottom 2. I mean, I'm open to be corrected on that, but I can't see why it wouldn't, because head-to-head obviously wouldn't come into it with the 3 teams having beaten each other. So like, it's not, beyond the realms of possibility that they still have to fight for that place and beat Westmeath down. But the fact is that there's more chance of Clare getting promoted this year than there is getting relegated to Division 1. And that is a phenomenal thing. Like, PJ, me and you both barely old enough to remember Clare beating Kerry in the Munster final in 1992. But that was a miracle. That was, that was like, John Maughan did an amazing job with that team 1 or 2 years, and they caught a bad Kerry team on the hop. Like, what they've actually done and established themselves as a decent force, as a solid Division 2 team over the space of 4 or 5 years now, is the best Clare football has ever done. Well, in living memory anyway. And that's just something that I think should be noted and talked about a little bit more, because it's absolutely an incredible achievement. That said, Cork are absolutely going to be favourites for this game. I would have said -1. I'd fancy Clare to win, unless circumstances dictate that Cork are chasing it and Laois are winning the other game, or whatever it might be. That things can happen. I would have said Cork -1. I'm actually going to go Cork -2 rather than go the other way.
Yeah, 2 very strong arguments for Clare, but that's the bookies aren't listening to you, and you're both right to go with Cork. But it is in fact Cork -3.
In Ennis. Oh, dressing room door, PJ. Dressing room door.
Yeah,
that is a mad. Like, you'd have to take Clare +3 there. That is a gift of a handicap. Like,
It
and
is.
we'll have the whole of Kerry behind us.
Yeah, Mick, so you've won it for this week, but we've one more fixture to look at, so we'll look at it nonetheless. We're going to have a quick dive down to Division 3. Division 3 South is as interesting as Division 3 North, with Offaly playing well and tipped potentially relegation candidates to Munster champions. But it's Division 3 North that we're going to look at, and it's Cavan versus Derry. Breffni Park, 3 p.m. Saturday.
So this is just really interesting because Cavan were Division 1 team 2 years ago. They're current Ulster champions, and them getting relegated from Division 2 was a weird confluence of events in general that happened last year. It shouldn't have really happened, and it was just this, a lot of things, a really, really tight division, and they kind of got caught on the last day. And now, they're playing a Derry team who finally look like they're getting it together, hammered from Anna. I think, was it 18 points? Or 20 points even, which is just that you don't expect Derry to be doing that to anyone, especially not another Ulster team at the moment. And Fermanagh don't get hammered in that way either. And then Cavan are looking over thinking, will we even get a chance to get promoted here? We're going to be stuck in Division 3 for 2 years. And, next year, Division 3 causes a big problem in terms of having a spot in the qualifiers and everything like that. So that's why I'm most interested in this game. And it's why it's a huge game for both counties, because Derry to go and, finally top Division 3 and get it, actually do more than flatter to deceive, will be a very big moment for them as well. They've been in the doldrums for, God, I don't know, it's nearly a decade at this stage. I have a feeling, I think the Breffni Park issue, the fact that it's there, will definitely make Cavan favourites. It's just by how much, and obviously their pedigree over the last few years, as well as them being Ulster champions. Just wondering about how much that Derry win last week and the nature of it and the size of it will affect things. I think it'll knock a point or two off for sure. I'm going to go Cavan -2.
Cavan -2. PJ.
What a mad game to have to pick. It's like I think I've flip-flopped between both sides several times on this. Cavan beat Longford by 6, Derry beat Longford by 16. Cavan lost to Fermanagh by 1, and Derry beat Fermanagh by 9? I think it was 18.
I think it's 19 points. Yeah, I don't have the score in front of me. I think it was 19 points.
I did think Ryan McMenamin, the Derry manager, said after losing to Derry that Derry are a very, very fit team, very, very fit, a very, very fit team. So as Cavan man Mark Farley said to me during the week, word on the street is Derry are fit. Cavan beat Longford the weekend, but it was quite costly. They lost James Smith and Kieran the Holla Brady, and they were also missing a couple of players going into that game. Thomas Galligan was out, and Jared Smith. I don't know if they weren't back for the game of the weekend. I don't know if they're going to be back for this one too. Especially Thomas Galligan, an all-star. It's a big player for Cavan. It's very hard to figure this Cavan team out. But I think you're probably right in that they're going to be favourites. I've written down here Cavan -1, so I'm going to stick with Cavan -1.
Cavan -1 for PJ. Well, PJ, you make a very good argument, a very, very good argument, a very, very, very good argument. It is, in fact, Cavan -1.
Consolation point.
Yeah, consolation point. And that concludes Guess the Handicaps for this week. Congratulations, Mick. You are a winner. 3-2 to Mick. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.